Hey witches, how you doing? For those of you who are new around here, my name is Taya. And for those of you who are returning, maybe coming in from another video, I just want to say thank you for coming back and please consider subscribing. It's a great way to help us build the channel. Today, we are going to chat a little bit about a book that I recently, well not recently, but I guess a few months back, had in one of my I had a little mini haul of a few books that I had picked up, and it's called Horns of Power by Sorita. And it is Manifestations of the Horned God, an anthology of essays exploring the horned gods of myth and folklore, ancient history, through to modern times. And yeah, I was really excited to find this book. I was drawn to it because I do work with Cernunnos in my practice, who is kind of really the horned god. I find he's sort of the best known member of the tribe, if you will. And so yeah, I was very drawn. I'll be honest, the artwork was a bit of a, I don't want to say turn off, but a bit of a, I don't know, it just didn't really jive with my interpretation. I feel like it's a little bit too literal when I like to think of, you know, representations of deity. To me, I like it when they're a little bit vague, so I can put my own personal imprint into a little bit. And this is a very literal, like, here is a picture of what the horned god looks like. And so, I don't know, it was a little much for me. But, you know, thought let's give this book a try because I am really interested in working with masculine deity, working with the horned god over the last couple of years. That's definitely something that's come up very strongly in my practice. And I just thought, oh, haven't seen a book like that before. Let's give it a try. So yeah, I'm not really sure what I was expecting. I think something more similar to Devil's Dozen by Gemma Gary. Not an exact replica, but just that sort of idea where it had, you know, informational text, and then it had different like rites and rituals that tied back to that text that you could go and do. And the two sections here are myth and history, and then rites and experiences. So that sort of seemed to confirm that. It wasn't quite so. So the first section on myth and history is really stories and myths, essays and thought pieces on the horned god. So it starts out strong. It's got chapters on Cernunnos, on Herne the Hunter, on Gwynap Nud, on Pan, on Veles. Sorry if I'm pronouncing some of those wrong. They're not my pantheon, so I should have looked it up. And then it kind of dives off into sort of a Romano-Celtic survey of horned gods. Puck, horns in Egypt. They talk a little bit about unicorns, so kind of like went all different places. Definitely interesting, just not really what I was expecting. And then in rites and experiences, it was more just experiences, personal stories of meeting and experiencing horned gods. There's some poetry, there's some songs and hymns. I thought it would be more instructional. It was really more personal narrative again. And again, there's nothing wrong with that. Just wasn't quite what I was expecting. And then the final section of the book is on horned goddesses. And I don't know, it was sort of, it was kind of focusing on the idea of the crescent moon turned sideways to look like horns and how that may have come from horns. They kind of get into the Greek magical papyri. So it was kind of interesting. Again, it wasn't sort of what I was expecting. There was one essay in there about Elin that I thought was very interesting. In Pursuit of Elin by Jenny Sumaya. This is basically this all different authors throughout here. It is edited by Sorita, but it is all different authors who've contributed different pieces to the book. So overall, it was more sort of academic research, personal narrative than instructional. And that's not to say that there isn't anything to learn from it. There's a lot to take and learn, but I find for me, this type of work, it needs more percolating in my brain. So I've kind of read it once, and now I'll go back and reference, like, especially like the myths and stuff. I mean, the myth of Herne the Hunter, I'll be honest, I wasn't really familiar with it. So it was interesting to see it written out. Definitely some good works in here. Just things to come back and reference and sort of continue to percolate over time. I did sort of power through the last half of the book, so maybe I wasn't taking in as much as well as I could have if I took a more leisurely read or a more like sort of when I'm called to it kind of reading. So I definitely think there's a lot of value in this book if you work with the Horn of God. I like that at the beginning of the myth and history, the piece on Cernunnos was really about how Cernunnos is not just a god. He's a collection of a number of different Celtic gods that sort of all sweep up under this one banner of Cernunnos, but that regionally he was different. So, I mean, there's definitely interesting information to be taken from this book. So definitely I think there's value. If you work with the Horn of God, if you're interested in the Horn of God, in masculine deity, I would give it a solid 7 or 8 out of 10. Typically I only review books that I give a strong 10 out of 10, but I feel like this one needs promoting, if you will. I do think that there's a lot to take from it. So I'll give it a, like, you know, 7, 8. Solid 7.5 out of 10. So yeah, do you work with the Horn God? Is this something you might be interested in? Have you read it? I'd love to know what you thought of it. And yeah, just give me your thoughts. Are you interested of it? I'd love to know. Yeah, so leave me a comment and we will check you in the next one. Thanks so much, guys.